Earnestly podcast, new Earnestly NBA show here. It's been a couple of weeks actually, but here with our guy, as always, Greg Hrinya, author, friend, analyst. What's up, buddy? You doing all right?
Yeah, nothing much. Thanks for having me on, as always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. A lot to get to, man. We haven't spoken since before the All-Star break. Since the All-Star break has concluded, there's a lot going on in the NBA. Although I will say, in my opinion, looking at the standings, it feels pretty static. Like we kind of have an idea what to expect for the next 2 months. There's really nothing. Like I'm gonna touch on a little bit too, also on the MVP race, but that's like the only thing I'm interested in right now. I think we know the 6 teams in the playoffs. I think we know the play-in teams at this point. There may be some positioning here and there, a little bit on seeding, but I think I have a good idea. What, for example, in the East, who the 6th playoff team is going to be. In the West, I kind of have an idea, but I feel like it's more static than it's been in a long time.
Yeah, I think on February 12th when we did this, we went through the 10 teams on each side, and we said, there could be movement, a team here, a team there, but like the 10 teams that we're going to be in, we're going to be in. For the most part, the 6 and 6 are going to be locked in, the play-in teams. So we kind of know, a month, maybe 5 weeks before the end of the regular season, where these teams are going to end up. Right. Maybe in the West you don't have Houston finishing at 3, maybe you have them finishing at 4 or 5. But I mean, again, for the most part, we know that those 6 teams more or less are going to be there.
Yeah, but again, we'll touch on that a little bit in just a second. But I want to touch on this topic and get out of the way. A topic I know you're not crazy about, but we haven't had a chance to talk in a couple weeks. And that's the All-Star game. And we'll spend a minute or two on this, not too much, because it's been a couple weeks now. But what are your thoughts on the All-Star game? Because it was, I will say, it was well received in ways we haven't seen in years. It was the most viewed All-Star game, I think, since 2012, I believe. So the game itself, the format itself, seems to be pretty popular so far. There were very little to honestly, I haven't seen any complaints honestly about this. Again, low bar. But your thoughts on the All-Star game? Did you forget the weekend itself? I mean, it is what it is with that one. The All-Star game itself, the structure, U.S. versus the world. Did you like it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the NBA had a lot of losses going into the game in terms of a lot of drama with tanking and all the stuff off the floor. Tanking, Kawhi Leonard's situation with aspiration, gambling stuff. So they needed a big win, and I think the All-Star game for them this year was a win in the sense that the players seemed like they were into it. Maybe the new guard is taking it a little more seriously. Maybe the LeBron era of a veteran who maybe didn't take the game as seriously and sort of load managed through it. Going this Anthony Edwards and Victor Wembanyama and that the group of up and coming guys are going to look at it differently. But I also think the format helped. So I mean, when you look at it ahead of time, you're like, oh,
right.
If you need 2 or 3 sentences to explain the game, like don't even bother. But I mean, the reality was that I think that each quarter essentially being its own game put some urgency to it. Whereas in years past, when the guys would turn up a little bit in the game, it would be in the fourth quarter. The first 3 quarters would just be a wash, and you get a little bit of basketball in the fourth. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that you basically got rid of the first 3 quarters and just went straight to the fourth, where each quarter meant something, you got a little bit more effort. You saw some fouls, you saw some defense, you saw some block shots. So, I mean, just from a competition standpoint, I thought that was a big win for the league.
Yeah, I'm with you. I felt like Just the idea of having the U.S. against the world, it adds some sort of a challenge, some sort of like competition aspect to it, and that's all I wanted. And again, the fix was simple. It's not that I don't need you guys to play serious. Just stop chucking up threes from half court every so often. That's all I'm asking for. Take it somewhat serious. Have fun, but take it somewhat serious. That's all I'm saying. It wasn't that for the last 10 years, and this is a good start for Adam Silver in the league. But I will say, my big thing for the weekend had nothing to do with the All-Star game itself. It had to do with a comment Adam Silver made about, because obviously the media gets in town, they want to talk about things and whatever, and the topic of tanking came up again, and Adam Silver said that they are looking at all ideas on the table about how to handle that tanking situation, including possibly abolishing the NBA draft. That's a massive, swing there too. Also, the draft in many of these sports are an event. I know for a long time the NBA was an event as well too. Also, some people will still consider that as such. But in the perspective of tanking being a big issue in this league, abolishing the NBA draft, that's a big swing there. What's your thoughts on that? You think that's something that you should consider?
Well, there's a couple things here. One, you have to admit that tanking is a problem. I mean, the reality is that there's always going to be bad teams. And if you start tweaking it too much, you are now going to prevent the bad teams from ever becoming good. So you're always going to have 4 or 5 teams that are going to be at the bottom of the league. I mean, like, even if every team is trying to win a title, 5 or 6 teams have got to finish at the bottom. So, I mean, there's always going to be some sort of bad team. The idea of abolishing the draft, I think, is I don't know, more for shock value than anything. I think it would be a horrible idea, because then all these prospects are just going to go to New York, Miami, Chicago, LA. Like, how are the Pacers or the Jazz or the Bucks going to get that next crop of player if you're just going to essentially make this, a free agent system? Because then you'll get an owner like Steve Ballmer who will say, oh, we don't have as much money to offer you as the Bucks do, but come here to LA, you'll be a big star, you'll make the money up elsewhere. And then a player will be like, oh, I'd rather play there than play in like Minnesota or Milwaukee. So, I mean, like, if the goal is parity, like when you look at the NFL, the goal really is for every team to go 8-8, and then the margins dictate, who's at, or not 8-8, but now they switch to 17 games. So
I miss 500 in football for the record.
Yeah.
No, so yeah.
So I mean, if the goal is for every team to go 9-8, a team has a bad year, you go 5-12. A team has a good year, they go 12-5, so on and so forth. The goal is for every team to have that opportunity. And I feel like if you're getting rid of the draft, where's the opportunity for the teams that are like downtrodden? Where are the Wizards getting their players? And to be honest, the reason why I don't think it's that much of a problem is because the fans of all these teams want these teams to tank. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of Heat fans who are like, Pat Riley, enough with finishing in the play-in every year. Give us one shot at one of these generational players. Give us another Dwayne Wade, and then you can be competitive every year. But like, it's not, you're talking about 3 or 4 teams that have been doing this for a while. I mean, like a team like Brooklyn, their goal was like a 2-year tank, and then they're going to try and be competitive the next however many years. And then you saw with the trade deadline with all these bad teams acquiring like bigger name players, like Washington plans to be competitive next year. Utah plans to be competitive next year. Like, don't allow a 1 or 2 or 3 season sample size when this year and the coming draft and last year's draft were like generational talent drafts. So we're going to throw off the whole system just because there happen to be more talent really than there's ever been. There's not going to be that talent next year. So tanking will not be as much of an issue just because it's cyclical. So, I mean, I just, the way that they want to do it by flattening odds and all that, it's really just to keep getting good teams players. Like, look at San Antonio. Like, they wind up getting Dylan Harper to add to Victor Wembanyama. They didn't really need Dylan Harper. They already had Fox. They already had Castle. They got their guy, and then they got 2 guys on top of that. So I'm not really a fan of any sort of system that basically doesn't allow the lesser teams to add players, because free agency in the NBA is kind of a dead thing now, right? So, I mean, the way the contracts,
more or less,
the contracts are structured, guys re-sign before they hit free agency because they can sign for more with their current team, and then if they want out, they ask for a trade. So it's not like a bad team can just wait around and sign a good player. The way that the contracts are structured, it really just lends itself to trades and to the draft. And if you're eliminating the draft, you're really just concentrating the talent among 5, 6, 7 teams. And then what are
Right.
the all those other teams do? So I'm not a big fan of it.
So you acknowledge that there's a tanking issue. You acknowledge that, but it's not as big. Are you saying it's not as big a deal as it being set to be?
Yeah. No, I mean, there's an issue in terms of like teams sitting their players in the fourth quarter because they're trying to lose a game. Like when Miami lost that game to the Jazz, and the Jazz were like sitting the guys that got them there. So they accidentally won that game. But that's gone on forever. Like that happened last year with Toronto. Toronto wanted to keep their pick. I think it was like top 10 protected. They wound up getting the 9th pick. They drafted Colin Murray-Boyles. They knew they weren't going to the playoffs. They sat Brandon Ingram, and they followed the same philosophy. There was a game that they were winning by like 10, 15 points late against the Wizards. They took all their guys out. They lost on like a last-second shot. So, this isn't something that just started this year. Maybe it's starting a little earlier this year because of how good the talent is. But this is something that's been going on forever. So is it worse than normal? Maybe this year just because the draft is that good. But come next year, we're not even going to be talking about it. You're going to have, 2 or 3 teams that just, it breaks a certain way and they wind up being bad for whatever reason. Maybe it's like the Pacers where a guy tears an Achilles and he's out for the year and it's a gap year, or, it's Sacramento and they're just bad. But you're not going to have 10 teams trying to get their way, 10, 12 teams trying to work their way into the lottery. It just so happens that this is a deep draft. So, I don't think that I would change the system for 1 year.
Plus, I think it's really hard to tank in sports, probably lesser in the NBA, but especially the NFL is hard because you can't convince guys who are playing for jobs next year to say, "Oh, I'm going to help you guys out by tanking." What's in it for them? Half those guys are not going to be on roster next year. So why the hell would they want to tank? And for example, the NBA a little less than that because the NBA guys are pretty much much more. The rosters pretty much are the same from year to year in comparison to the NFL. But I have a hard time believing that NBA players, even lesser than, want to tank.
Yeah, I wrote about this in my book because the Nets in that first year when they went 12-70, like they were tanking. Yeah. Tanking does not happen on the player level. It's an organizational decision. Teams don't put the best roster out there that they can. Mm-hmm. They don't assemble a team that's designed to win 35 or 40 games. They put together a team that, it has the odds stacked against them with the intent of losing. And also the second part of that is that tanking is always going to be different in the NBA versus every other sport because every sport, the best player is not always on the field or on the ice or what have you. Like if you look at hockey, Alex Ovechkin is, he's one player on 3 to 4 lines of hockey players. He's going to play 25 minutes max. Let's say that they really extend them, which they'll never do for a forward. But let's say he plays 30 minutes. It's a 60-minute game. He plays half the game. Patrick Mahomes, his defense is on the field half the game, give or take.
Right. Give or take, right.
There. Baseball, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, like those guys bat 1 out of 9. In basketball, LeBron can play 45 out of 48 minutes. So, so having a star talent in the NBA means so much more than really any other league because when LeBron left Cleveland, they went from 60 wins to 19, and then he came back and they won a title. So, that one guy really does make a difference.
Yeah, they play both sides of the court. That's simple.
Yeah.
So
they don't come off. So, yeah.
Right. So some NBA news here, some thoughts in the league right now. The Nuggets been kind of mid last week or so. They're not horrible, but now they're the 5 seed, currently half game behind Minnesota in the West for the for home court advantage in the first round. Jokic is back, but it seems like they've been kind of like mid.
Yeah, they're in trouble because
they're in trouble.
Yeah, well, because they're just not healthy. So they stayed above water when Jokic was out.
Right.
When Jokic comes back, Cam Johnson's still battling injury. Not having a great season even when healthy, but still battling, I believe it's an ankle problem. Peyton Watson's out for a month with a hamstring issue. Aaron Gordon, again, we talk every year about Aaron Gordon and his injuries, but like his hamstring might have cost him a title last year. And that same hamstring is why he's out another 2 months this year. So I mean, if you look at their roster and say, okay, we have Murray and Jokic, there's our 2-man game, and then we add Cam Johnson, Peyton Watson, Aaron Gordon, like that's a really good team. Plus Christian Brown, but like all 4 of those guys that I just listed have all been hurt for a month or more. At different points in the season. I mean, Christian Brown missed a month. Cam Johnson's missed a month and a half. Peyton Watson has missed probably 2 weeks, and he's going to miss 2 weeks more. Aaron Gordon, hamstring injuries for years, seemingly. So, I mean, we thought that they were going to be in trouble when Jokic got hurt. He comes back. The team is sort of in shambles because they have so many guys hurt, and he hasn't been the same, really, since he came back. Not to say he's been bad. It's just that he was playing in another stratosphere before he got hurt. And now, you're seeing higher turnover games. You're seeing him miss more shots than you normally would. So it's a little different than what I would have expected a month ago from them.
Well, the good news for Denver is that both the guys you mentioned, Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson, are poised to return to the team within the next 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
So this is the right time to do that now because obviously, we're now in March. We're kind of starting. We're still kind of in the. I don't consider it the dark days or the dog days of the season. I think March is. I consider that pennant time. That's the time to make some moves. It's time now. You have to start really making some. If you're trying to get in home court advantage, now it's time to start putting yourself away, put yourself distance between everybody else. And Denver right now is I guess, kind of in the danger zone right now, kind of sort of, because you'll draw Minnesota in the first round right now. Currently, you kind of want home court for that series. Minnesota historically has given them problems anyway. So if you're trying to get to the finals, your first round opponent is Minnesota. That's not good. That's not good.
And prior to the season, I had Denver going to the finals. But where they're going to be in trouble, it's not even if these guys get healthy. It's just, do they have enough time to gel and put something together to get themselves ready for the playoffs? I don't know that besides Jokic and Murray, I don't know that you're going to take all these other guys who are kind of in new roles. Like Peyton Watson has never played the role that he's going to be asked to play. Cam Johnson's never been on this team before. Christian Brown is playing a bigger role than he's been asked to play before. Valanciunas hasn't been on the team before. So I mean, it's outside of the top 2 players. I mean, Gordon's been there for a while, but he's hurt a lot. So I mean, how do you incorporate these new guys in with the other guys? Whereas, like, you look at Minnesota, it's like they added Ayo Dosunmu and that's it. Like, their team all year and for the better part of 2 years has kind of been the same. And to your point, they give them trouble anyway. So I mean, right now, if that series started today, I'd probably take Minnesota.
When is Cam getting back? Cam Johnson?
Well, I mean, Cam Johnson played 2 games ago, but he was 0 for 6, only played like 22, 23 minutes. And then
he played last night.
No, he didn't play last night. And then Adelman said that he probably shouldn't have been out there at all, given how banged up he was.
Oh, and he's hurt. So he's dealing injuries. Yeah. So
yeah. So I mean, that's a tough thing for Denver to navigate with so many guys that they're relying on in like big roles. And like Aaron Gordon is their third most important player. I mean, he's going to guard the best player on the other team, and he's also going to give you some offense.
Yes.
And by the time the year's over, he will have played half the season. So
he was phenomenal last year in the playoffs too. So
yeah,
you can argue. Well, before he got hurt, right? You can argue he was the second best player on that team.
Yeah,
to that run. Just saying.
Yeah. You could.
Another team that's really intriguing me the last couple of weeks, the Cavs. Won some of the last 10 games. They've been really good with James Harden since that trade. They're not number 4 in the East. They're starting to put some distance in them in Toronto. I talked about this on the show like weeks ago with you that was the team that I was watching the most in the East that of competitors, quote unquote, that can compete with the Pistons and the Celtics and the Knicks and whatnot. If the slow start was just a blip because of injuries, which we all agreed it was, but we still don't trust the team overall. But I gotta tell you, man, I call me crazy. I am not a James Harden fan or truther, none of that stuff. But I feel like, given where he is in his career right now, this fit for him might be the best fit for him. I think we've seen in years, not ever. And just in terms of where he's at his career versus what the Cavs have and what he need, I think James Harden's in a perfect situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it last game when they played the Nets. I mean, literally 11 seconds into the game, they win the tip. The ball goes back to Harden. They run pick and roll, and they wind up, he hits Allen rolling to the rim for a wide open dunk. I mean, he's the perfect situation for having two guys who he can play pick and roll with, and who are lob threats. So you have Mobley, you have Allen. I mean, Allen in 2 weeks or 3 weeks has played the best basketball of his career, just being paired with James Harden. So I mean, like, there's no coincidence there. I mean, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I mean, there was a game a couple of weeks ago where he had like 35 points, and I mean, this is a guy who, for a long time in November, December, was having like 8-point, 9 rebound games, and now he's like an all-star caliber player again. So I mean, I think that trade unlocked a lot of different things. I thought they had one of the best trade deadlines, not only because they got Harden, who plays and is, when I say reliable, maybe he's not a playoff, a super playoff performer, but he plays every night. And Garland was hurt all the time. And they also added Dennis Schroeder and Keon Ellis. I mean, Keon Ellis in his last game, I want to say he had like 3 or 4 blocks and a couple steals. I mean, he had just a ridiculous stat line.
He had 5 blocks. Yeah, 5 blocks.
5 blocks for a guard, for a 6'4", wing player, essentially. So, I mean, they made a lot of impact moves around the margins in addition to getting a guy who can play every night. And also, one thing I want to call out, too, with Harden, he's playing with a broken finger, like the tip of I want to say his thumb. It might be I think the tip of his thumb on his right hand is broken. Like, prior to the playoffs 2 years ago, I mean, Jared Allen missed like 6 weeks and the play-in game, and part of the series. I think that's when they were winding up playing the Magic with like a similar sort of injury, and Harden's playing through this. So I mean, like, I give him full marks for like,
and he's a guard too on top of that.
Yeah. He needs his hands like a lot. Yeah. So I mean, he could have gotten surgery, missed a couple weeks, and then just cruised into the playoffs and showing up. But he's like, I don't have time to be missing games. So like, I give him credit for, when possible, he's pretty much always on the floor. And
we never questioned James Harden and his ability to be available. We never questioned him as a regular season player. He's actually, all criticism aside with James Harden, he is actually one of, if not one of the best regular season performers we have ever seen in this league. It's in the playoffs we have a problem with him. It's, can you do it in April, May, and June? And he has not done it. Historically, has not done it well.
The only problem that the Cavs are going to have, like, I was thinking about this earlier. Like, if you look at the Cavs on paper, they have the best roster in the Eastern Conference. Like, if you're just looking at it on paper,
would say them in New York are neck and neck, yes.
But all their guys pretty much have question marks about the playoffs. Like, Donovan Mitchell's not played great in the playoffs. James Harden, that's always been his thing. Never showed up in the playoffs. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley have not played well in the playoffs. So, when they got blown out by the Knicks a couple years ago, and Jared Allen said, I guess the lights were too bright for us. Like, they have historically been guys who shrink in the playoffs. So despite all the talent, you're asking all these guys to come together who have never played well on a big stage. We'll see how that goes. So,
I view New York the same way too. Also, arguably best roster in the conference, but same thing you just said with the Cavs. Like, they have guys that outside Jalen Brunson, of course, Jalen Brunson I trust, but I don't trust Cat still. OG's here and there. Mikal Bridges is kind of meh at times. They have guys that sometimes come out smaller than me. Just that simple. But talent-wise, best roster in the conference right next to Cleveland.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is that Cat and Brunson can't defend. So I mean, we're gonna have the same.
There you go. And that's an issue
that we always do. Like, that's less of a problem with Cleveland. Like I would much rather have Harden and Mitchell on the floor together than Mitchell and Garland, because I feel like, again, you're talking about 40% of guys who can't guard. Not that Harden is some sort of shutdown defender, but he's stout. I mean, he can play above his size a little bit, whereas Garland couldn't do that. They're going to run pick and roll at Brunson and Cat all playoffs long, and I just don't know if they're going to have an answer to stop it. I mean, their best lineups at times might have Cat playing or sitting on the bench, or might have Brunson at times sitting on the bench, because they can only afford one of those guys out there, and they have the depth to do it.
Yeah.
They can put Alvarado out there. When McBride comes back, they can put Deuce McBride back there. Mitchell Robinson's healthy. They can play Mitchell Robinson and then go down to OG at the 4 and Bridges at the 3, and then they can play.
They got options, definitely.
So, I mean, I don't know that their best lineup is going to be the one with their 2 best players in it. So that's like the only hesitancy I have about the Knicks.
Right. Giannis returned last night, but it kind of feels like too little, too late for me. For me, anyway. And I'll tell you why. And I'll give you the floor in a second. Right now, they're number 11 in the East. They're 3.5 back right now currently of the play-in situation. Here's the issue. Yeah, you say, 3.5 point only. Which team's coming out of that play-in? Because right now, the number 10 team, the Hornets, are red hot. They're not cooling off. Okay, the 9 team, the Hawks, are playing good basketball right now too. Also on top of that, Miami, for all their struggles, they'll hold on to staying over 500 because they have enough talent on that team. And then there's Orlando. So I think Milwaukee's cooked. Not even because of the fact that Giannis has been gone, but the teams ahead of them though I think are just playing better basketball than Milwaukee. And I don't think Giannis could change that.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Charlotte, I would say Charlotte is more likely to finish as the 6th seed than to come out of the play-in. I mean, they've been that good. I mean, like they're
yes.
like the analytics say that this is not just a good team, but like when their starting 5 has been on the floor, I mean, they're like 30 points over the 200 minutes that they've played. The next best team, I think, is Detroit, and they're like 30 points better. I mean, like we're talking about a large sample size with those 5 guys on the floor, with Ball, with Knipple, with Bridges, with Diabate, and with Brandon Miller. They've been like historically good. So I mean,
fun
like,
to watch too. Fun to watch.
As long as those guys stay healthy, they're way more likely to be the 6th seed with Philadelphia falling into the play-in than they are coming out. And then, like you said, Atlanta. I mean, they're a 500 team. I mean, I guess if the only hope that Milwaukee would have would be if they caught Atlanta. But I mean, they play tomorrow night, so I mean that'll be an interesting game. And also Atlanta doesn't have.
I'll say this much: Milwaukee loses that game in Atlanta tomorrow night, they're done for the year.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, at that point, you can pretty much. I mean, I don't know that Giannis wants to be shut down, but I mean, at that point they should probably be thinking about a draft pick, because if you've got 20 games left, their draft pick is a swap with New Orleans, and that was traded to Atlanta. So basically, Atlanta gets the better of the picks between New Orleans and Milwaukee, and then Milwaukee gets the 2nd pick. Now, both those picks should be lottery picks. So, I mean, that's still a good spot for Milwaukee to be in if they want to either add a player to infuse some talented youth into the roster, or if they want to use that as a trade chip to build around Giannis. But either way, like I think if they don't win the next couple games, especially tomorrow against Atlanta, I mean, they probably got to think about shutting it down. Now Giannis might not want to do that, and whatever he wants to do is what they're going to do. So, I mean, if Giannis says, to hell with that, I want to see what guys we have here and how, what guys we're going to have going forward. Because, like, I'm still not convinced that he's necessarily going to ask for a trade in the offseason if they tell him, we can move this guy, we can move Kuzma's salary, we can move Bobby Portis, we'll have 3 first-round picks to trade. We can do all this maneuvering in the offseason that we couldn't do during the season. He might say, hey, I want to see, is Cam Thomas a guy that should stick around? Is Ousmane Dieng a guy who can stick around and play a role? Like, so these might be like tryout games for Giannis. So they might not necessarily shut it down, even though that would make the most sense from a draft pick standpoint.
Right. I'll be honest with you, bro. I am way more intrigued. As great as the West is this year, I am way more intrigued going forward at the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. And here's why. The Cavs are red hot. Pistons, the best record in the league right now currently. The Knicks are playing better basketball as of late. We have a couple of good stories. Toronto's a great story this year too, obviously. Charlotte, all that. And we're not even including the possibility of Jayson Tatum coming back to this team. He put up a YouTube video on Sunday teasing we can interpret as teasing a return at this point. I'll be honest with you. You make when you trade. We said this on the podcast during trade deadline. When you trade Anthony Simons for Vucevic, to me that signals we're getting that guy back very soon. And he's been practicing already in the G League and doing work already. It feels like the vibe is he'll be back sooner than later. I already predicted that he'll be back early mid-March. We're now early March right now. I think Jayson Tatum's back within 2-3 weeks.
Oh yeah, I'd be surprised if it were more than 2 weeks. I think he could be back within a week. Maybe not that soon, but I mean 2 weeks max. I would say. Which gives
him a lot of time to, get prepared for the playoffs. And right now, Boston Celtics, 4th best record in the league right now currently. Okay, number 2 in the East, 2-game lead of New York in the East also too as well. Joe Mazzulla is coaching here. phenomenal. Should be a coach of the year candidate without question. And I don't think Tatum will screw it up, honestly. I don't think Tatum will screw this chemistry, honestly. I think Tatum will find a way. You got a month or so to make it work. I think to add another wrinkle to the Eastern Conference now, I think Boston is going to be a problem because they're really a problem now without Tatum. Now you add Tatum, who's a top 10 player in the league. Some say top 5. That's going to be that could be a problem. So I'm intrigued by that story.
Yeah, even without Tatum, I mean, they might be a finals contender just with the way the East is situated. I mean, Missoula, to me, hands down, coach of the year.
Oh, really? He is the coach of the year runaway.
Runaway. Yeah. I don't know who else you'd
The only guy I would consider probably is Biggerstaff the Pistons coach?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's Biggerstaff, right? And then the Spurs coach.
True, but I would say that both those guys have had healthy teams for the better part of the year, whereas you take away, like you said, even if you want to say that Tatum's only a top 10 player, not a top 5 player, even if you want to say he's a top 15 player, you take him away. And it wasn't just that. They traded Porzingis, they traded Drew Holiday, they lost Al Horford, they lost Luke Cornett. So, I mean, like, you're talking about like 5-6 guys off that roster. And right now they
off a championship roster, in fact.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, you look at what Jaylen Brown has done. You look at the way that they've gotten guys like Hugo Gonzalez, who's, the first round pick, who last night against Milwaukee had, I think it was like 18-15 with 3 steals and 2 blocks. I mean, just like they just find these guys out of nowhere. Baylor Shireman has played a lot better. I actually think, and I got to give Bill Simmons credit for this, but like he sees Jayson Tatum playing in Baylor Shireman's role going forward, which would make sense where, a little bit of ball handling up top, mostly around the 3-point line, maybe a little driving kick, but like not putting too much on his plate. Not to say that he's just a guy out there, but I don't think that they're going to overload Tatum at any point to where they're playing him 35 or 40 minutes. I could see them splitting that role between him and Shireman. And, those two guys, if you're getting 48 minutes out of them or, 40 minutes out of them, and Tatum plays 20 and he plays 20 and, maybe you're getting someone else like Ron Harper Jr. to give you some minutes. I think that's what they would do for the remainder of the season and then go from there. I don't think that they're going to have Jaylen Brown go stand in the corner and have to monopolize the ball. I think that's something that can return next year. But I think going forward, he's going to be more of a role player than anything else, which is fine. You get a 6'9" role player who can shoot threes and can handle the ball. Like, you're perfectly fine with that. So
absolutely.
But I think even before he comes back, like the way they defend, the way they move the ball, the way they score, they're as much of a threat in the East as anyone without him even coming back. So
great segue because you mentioned Jaylen Brown. Where are you on the MVP race? Give me your top 3 guys in order, if you can. Right now, who MVP currently?
I mean, look, SGA is going to win the award. So, I mean, I guess you got to put him at 1. I think he's like minus 260 to win the award. I think Jokic is second. I think the question really becomes if those guys, for whatever reason, became ineligible to be on the ballot because they didn't hit the 65 games. I think SGA will. I think he's still got like 5 or 6 games to play with, and there's only how many games do the Thunder have left? The Thunder have 20 games even left. Is he going to miss half their games going forward? Probably not. So, I mean, I think that's probably pretty safe.
He missed a couple weeks anyway. So, yeah, he's rested now, is it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying that, like, if you're looking at guys that won't be eligible to win the award, like Jokic, I think he can only miss 1 more game. I think if he misses 2 games, he's not even eligible to be on the ballot.
Correct.
I think
Wemby also too.
Yeah, but if you're taking those guys out, I mean, you're probably looking at, again, this wouldn't be in order. Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Brown, and Wemby would be the 3 in some order. I mean, I'd probably be inclined to have Cade Cunningham as the 3rd guy behind SGA and Jokic.
Can I ask? Because so as we record this podcast right now, the Pistons have the best record in basketball.
Yeah,
right now, currently, and yet I don't hear enough Cade Cunningham front runner. He's in the conversation. Yes, everybody top 3, whatever. Mine also too. But I have Cade number 1 right now. because of that fact that the number one in the East, not the number one East, the best record in the NBA. And we said this too on the pod months ago that if when the Thunder started slipping a little bit, we said that if they start slipping a little bit now, and the Detroit Pistons started to continue winning games, and somehow, some way got on par and record wise with OKC, that maybe the conversation changes about the MVP. And now the Pistons have a better record than the Thunder. And yet, I'm not hearing enough of Cade Cunningham number one, and you're including that too. Also, why is not Cade? Why is Cade number one on your list?
Because I feel like historically, if a guy comes out of nowhere to do it, they don't just like give it to him the first year. Like that doesn't seem that way. That like there almost has to be a track record.
Why don't you buck the trend then?
Yeah. No, I mean, I would be all for Cade winning MVP. I'm just saying that I think that's how it's going to go. I don't get it.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Who? Okay, figure out how it's going to go. Who do you think should be MVP then?
Who do I think? I think Cade should be MVP, but I don't think. That's
you agree then? Okay, cool. All right, awesome.
I don't think that's the way it's going to go. You know, they're going to give it to SGA because
Vegas is telling you that now with the odds. So yeah,
they're defending champions. You know, they're dominant. He's good on both ends of the floor, but so is Cade. You know, and I would say that SGA is more help around him, even though Jalen Williams has been hurt for the better part of the year. I could make the argument, you know, he's got Chet Holmgren, who's a defensive player of the year candidate. And also they've got a lot of good depth pieces too. But I guess those depth pieces are sort of comparable a little bit with.
I will say that what helped SGA's chances here is Williams missing the first, 20 games of the year. Then he missed another chunk after that.
Yeah.
And the Thunder are still maintaining this. Whereas, Cade was missing Durant for a couple games here and there. But other than that, the Pistons have been relatively healthy this year. So if there's a SGA advantage, that's the argument you make there is the fact that, they only won one game worse in Detroit, but Mike Pippen was not available for half the year.
Yeah, but
so there's an argument that's for SGA there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say with the Pistons, they're only a couple of years removed from losing like 28 straight games. So I mean, I think that the turnaround has been so stark for them.
Yeah.
Full marks to them, and I think that it's not like their roster is so loaded that Cade Cunningham has got like a ton of help. I think that he's the engine that makes that whole thing go. Just like SGA is the engine there too. But I would say that given where the teams have been, I think it's probably a little more impressive what Detroit has done just this season alone. Not saying that SGA is not the better player,
right?
But this specific season, the fact that they're 45-14 is, I think they're 45-14.
Yes, I believe they are.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to sneeze at,
I agree. All right, I want to play a clip for you. This is from a couple weeks ago, actually. Rich, I was gonna know the podcast with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul, and they had a conversation about Anthony Edwards, and Rich Paul had a very hot take here. Here's the clip here.
Being the best player in the league.
I still think it's a community, but I think that community is led by Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards is the best player in our league today.
Did you just say Anthony Edwards is the best player in the NBA?
He's the best player in the NBA. Yes, he is.
Okay.
Who do you say is the best player in the NBA?
Jokic.
And I say Anthony Edwards.
But I can say, I wish it is like I want to be convinced that it's Ant Edwards because when the best player in the league is a high-flying American player. By the way, this is not xenophobia. I'm talking about this is where we live, and this is what gets people excited usually. A name that is easy to pronounce, a guy who jumps out the gym. Of course, you need to win championships also in order to be that guy.
Yeah.
Why? It convinced me it's Ant Edwards.
As far as the face of the league versus best player.
Let's start with the best player.
The face of the league, that you have to grow into that. That's something different. But best player, yes, he is the best player.
Why? Tell me. Convince me.
Because you can't watch a game on any given night against anybody and look at that game and say, oh, that person is better than Anthony Edwards.
Even Jokic?
No.
Jokic is offensively.
No. I love Jokic. No question about it. But no. If you say I'm taking Jokic, I'm saying, okay, give me Anthony Edwards.
Is Rich Paul nuts?
No, because Anthony Edwards is a 5-tool player. He can defend. He can score from any spot on the floor. He can fly above the rim. He can shoot threes. He can ball handle. I mean, there's nothing that he can't do on the floor. So from a talent perspective, he's probably right. The thing with Jokic is that Jokic is like maybe the best offensive player ever. It's just that he's not a great defensive player. So, I mean, if we're talking complete package, I'm not going to argue with him on that. But I mean, there also has to be like, he's also got to prove that. But then, to be fair, they have been in the Western Conference Finals last 2 years. So
that's true.
I'm not going to hate on that take.
Let's start here. Is Ant Edwards to you a top 5 player in the league right now? Yes or no?
I would say
he's top 10, right?
Oh, yeah, easily. Yeah, he's probably like between 5 and 7.
Okay, so he's probably 5. Let's say he's running 5. So is there any consideration for top 3 for Edwards?
Yeah, I think if you were to take every player that's in the top 5, so let's say you started with Giannis, and you say, okay, compare Giannis and Anthony Edwards. Well, Giannis is like a 60% free throw shooter. He can't shoot threes. There are limitations to his game. We love him because he's 6'10", 6'11", runs like a locomotive, can defend, rebound, run the floor. But like, he doesn't have like a complete game.
Right.
If you look at Luka, great, offensive talent, but he doesn't defend. He's not, he's a sieve at that end of the floor. He's not super athletic. He's not playing above the rim. So, I mean, I don't know if that makes Anthony Edwards better than those players. I'm just saying he's got the best tools, I would say, of any player. But does that translate to being the best player?
I think results make that up, in my opinion. I think results make that best player, not his talent. There's a lot of talented guys that don't play NBA basketball, but yet aren't on that level. But here's the thing about Anthony Edwards for me. I agree that pound for pound, he's one of the best all-around players in the league. But I still wouldn't put him over Jokic. I still wouldn't put him over Wemby at this point. Okay. SGA has a ring, for the record. So I would still probably put SGA over him. Is he more athletic than SGA? Maybe. But SGA's done more so far. So until I see more from Edwards, I have to still put SGA there. So I'm not putting him in. I can't give him, I can't just give him best player creds when. And look, I understand. People need to see rings. No, first off, Michael Jordan was considered the best player in basketball before he had his 6 titles. So that doesn't mean that. I'm just saying that the 3 guys that's mentioned, for example, are guys I will still take over Edwards right now currently. Now, is Edwards a top 5 player? I actually will go yes. I might even put him over Giannis at this point now. Because Giannis's injuries is Giannis is now, I think we're at a point with Giannis that he's probably a descending player now. I don't think Giannis is getting any better than he is now. Luka is complicated. I might actually take Edwards over Luka too, also, to be honest with you. So my ceiling for Edwards right now is 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think
my absolute ceiling.
For Rich Paul, maybe the phrasing should have been he's the most talented player in the league. You can make the argument that he's the most talented.
That's different.
But best, I mean, like, there were guys that were more talented than Tim Duncan, but I still take Tim Duncan over almost all of them. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that that's a way that you could phrase the conversation. I think that Edwards, when I say he's a 5-tool player, he's certainly, in my opinion, probably the most talented, but would that be the first guy that I drafted if I were a starting team today? It'd be in the top maybe 3 or 4. But I mean, to your point, Giannis is getting older. Luka, no defense, also getting older, could have injury issues as he gets older, who knows? But I mean, the point is, I think talented player would have been probably a better way to do it. You're still probably taking Jokic or SGA, 1 or 2.
Totally agree. All right, one last thing to get out of here. One of the things we missed in the last month or so too also, Chris Paul officially retired. Remember the whole thing with the Clippers that blew out of nowhere? He gets waived by the Clippers. He goes on waivers wire, and no one picks him up. And I guess he just retires quietly. I mean, this is a guy that no titles, unfortunately, for him. 1 NBA Finals appearance. But a guy that I think it's kind of obvious that he's probably the best point guard the last 20 years, I would say. I mean, you're looking at 2005 to 2016. What do we call it? Probably the best point guard in the league.
And maybe one of the last like real true point guards, not like a combo
Correct.
guard who does it in multiple ways. You know, I mean, most of these guys, like, they have the ball in their hands, but like we were just saying with Anthony Edwards, he might have the ball in his hands and he's initiating, but does that make him like a true point guard? Like Chris Paul was like getting like the quarterback of the offense, where he was getting guys into their spots, making sure the ball got to the right place, that sort of thing. So, I mean, kind of the last of a dying breed of that sort of guard.
This is a big topic on this podcast with some of my guests and regulars on the show. 30 years, Chris Paul's, and where do you place him all time? Now that it's over, everything is, he's retired. Like, disranking point guards. You know, I think he's a top 10 guy all time, but is he top 5? I don't know. You tell me, because I think when you start looking at some point guards in the past, you know, obviously your top 3, my top 3, of course, is easy. It's Magic, Steph Curry, and Isaiah Thomas. Mm-hmm. My top 3 off the rip. Okay, you know, then you look at John Stockton's, you know, the Big O, Oscar Robertson, and then you get into the Jason Kidds and the Gary Paytons, and even Russell Westbrook is in the conversation. So I don't think we ever discussed this. You and I discussed this before in the past. Chris Paul, is he top 10 for you? And if so, where?
Yeah, as a point guard, definitely top 10. He's probably in, I mean, I think you laid out the list pretty well. I mean, he's probably in like that 7 to 10 range would be my guess, because I mean, the first guy that came to my mind was Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas. So those are the first 2 that I thought of just off the top of my head. And the guys you listed, you know, I mean, you can't put CP3 over Curry. I mean, Curry's won 4 titles. So
are titles the reason why is that low?
No, not necessarily. Just that Steph Curry, like, you know, changed the game for his generation.
Oh, no. I don't even think Steph Curry. I don't think him and Curry are in a conversation. I think that's like anybody that debates that is a fool. What I'm saying though is that running on a list of guys, and most of those guys have titles, but some may argue they weren't the best player on their team either to win titles. Just saying. I mean, that's an argument. Yeah. Chris Paul, I think this is the one quality about Chris Paul that is so underrated about him. Yes, he doesn't have any titles. We cough it up. That is what it is. But every single team he's gone to, he's made them significantly better. Whether it was the Hornets in New Orleans, whether it was the Clippers, whether it was the Thunder for that one year stint. That's supposed to be a lottery team. They made the playoffs that year. Whether it's the Rockets, the Rockets literally were a Chris Paul injury from Game 6 and 7 from dethroning the Warriors dynasty. People forget that. You know, the Suns went to the finals with Chris Paul. So the Chris Paul story, and there's a lot of Chris Paul critics out there, and I totally get it. But I think people are very heavy-handed when it comes to Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is much more underrated than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I mean, he's had an amazing career, and you're probably lumping him in with John Stockton, similar type of player. You know,
there you
quarterback offense, great assists, didn't win a title. Yeah, I mean, you could probably put them right next to each other on the list, which isn't a knock. I mean, again, you're still talking about top 10 guys of all time. You're just not putting them up there with Magic and Isaiah. So,
right. So I don't know. It is sad how it ended, because it kind of just went with a whimper and okay, he's gone. There was no pomp circumstance, none of that stuff.
Yeah, it's
kind of sad, but he's a first ballot Hall of Fame in my opinion. He'll be in there in 5 years, and that's just that. So. Anyway, Greg, good job today as always. We knocked out all things we knocked down after a couple of weeks away. Anything you want to say before we go, or plug, or nothing?
Looking forward to the games, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, man. And of course, I am on. Follow Greg on Twitter or X at Hrinya NBA. That's GHRINYA NBA. Of course, I am on X as well too at each 7. Of course, the NBA show, Earnestly podcast. Until the next episode, we'll talk to you guys soon. Later.